Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. I'm Janine Glover, Executive Director of the Blackhouse Foundation, and we welcome you to our celebration of 15 years. I'm excited to welcome our board, which has done some amazing work in the last decade and a half, and I cannot wait for you to hear about some of the places we've been and some of the places we're going. But before we do that, we have to take some time to give heed to the ancestral lands upon which we currently sit. We're coming to you from Los Angeles, California, which is the home of the Chumash and Fernandino Tatiavim tribes, as well as Washington, D.C., which is the ancestral land of the Anacostans. So make sure you Google your own so that you know where you are. And thank you so much, Sundance, for this platform tonight. I'd like to begin by introducing the chairman and co-founder of the Blackhouse Foundation, who has many community leadership roles as a trusted thought leader, a DEI advisor with over 20 years of experience engaging boards, C-level execs, and transforming businesses across industries, including entertainment, investment management, and nonprofits. Currently, our board chair runs a practice in telecommunications, media, and technology for Spencer Stewart. Please welcome Brixton Diamond. Hello, Brixton.
Hey, y'all.
Wonderful. And not only do we have one founder, we have another founder here today. Please welcome Carol Ann Shine. We call her Shine. She is a co-founder of the Blackhouse, along with Ryan Tarpley and Brixton Diamond. She is an award-winning producer who has produced over 50 titles for film and television. Her career spans film, scripted television, shorts, books, and she focuses on empowering marginalized communities by telling compelling stories and uplifting them. She's an inspiration and a mentor to many. Again, welcome, Carol Shine. Next, we have Pauline Fisher, who is a seasoned content and business development executive. She, spent a little time being an executive at some kind of important places. Well, she was at both the media entertainment companies Paramount Pictures and Netflix. And just last month, it was announced that she is on the board of directors for Hallmark. And she also has a seat at the table at the Academy in the executive branch. So we are so pleased to welcome board member Pauline Fisher. Welcome, Pauline.
Hi, thank you. Excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Dolly Turner. Dolly works at the intersection of storytelling, marketing, DEI, and social impact, guiding strategy, content, and campaigns for media and entertainment companies, brands, and nonprofits. She's responsible for an award-winning film, TV, music, books with Sundance, Tribeca, ABFF, so many festivals, and she also has Grammy Award recognition. Welcome, Dolly.
Hi.
Wonderful. So, I guess I could say I'm here. I'm the new ED. And even though we were talking about the leadership here from the board, I coming today and being with the Blackhouse, this isn't my first time. I actually attended the festival many years as a talent agent and then as a talent manager. And in 2007, I actually visited the Blackhouse. Took a client. It was in a different realm, but just to see the growth of this organization and to know that we still are making things happen. But in this day and age, for multi content creatives on many platforms is just amazing. It's not just film and TV anymore. We are working with emerging artists. So thrilled to be here and so excited about what we have in store for you. So just so you know, this discussion is just a roundtable. We're going to look at where we are today, where we've been, and where we're going. So we're going to do a bit of a roundtable with all of the board members. So we'll start with the present. 15 years, one pandemic, and 2 virtual Sundances on our table right now. But we're still serving the community well. But the question I have for all the board members now is, who are we serving today? So not who we started with, but who are we serving today? And I want to turn to you, Brixton, to see what your thoughts are around that topic.
Certainly. So thank you, Janine, for giving us this opportunity to have a conversation about our past, present, and future. But for the present, I think the audience that we're serving is evolving. And that is very much driven by the interwebs and technology and also the pandemic. So you look at this opportunity for a second year in a row, while it certainly is disappointing not to be in Park City, it is just a huge platform for extensive reach that we couldn't have in the little charming mountain town. And so we still serve all those folks who would come to Sundance, which are It's a group comprised of emerging filmmakers, students, executives, distribution and acquisition, and all sorts of folks around the entertainment business. But now also anyone sitting at home who's thinking about the business and thinking about how to refine their art to the palette for this specifically unique platform. And so it's not for everybody, but we're happy to create a window in for anyone to understand and begin to have some insights as to what this is all about and how it works. And so I would say today, our sort of constituency is tremendously broad. Can't be all things to all people, but for these 3 days at Sundance, we can, and so we will.
Love it. Carol, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that one of the reasons we began Blackhouse was to get beyond barriers, to get beyond, like we used to call the velvet rope, that would deny access to people, and that you had to go to a particular school or come from a particular area. And I think what's nice about, even though it is hard not to be able to share community person to person, hopefully, next year we'll be past all of this, but that what we can do is reach out to so many more people and open so many more doors and show people that the pathways to success in the entertainment industry are as varied as, to succeed in any kind of, creative business. I think the thing is that we've learned that it's, tenacity, perseverance, patience, and, knowing that you are powerful and that your story is powerful. And I think that that's one of the things that we started with, telling people that, your view of life, the stories that you want to tell, your experiences are important and they should be shared. And we are here to help you do that. And I think it's just, to me, it's just the things we always kind of think that we're passé or that the work has been finished. And I think the thing is when we, lift our heads and look around, that it's just so important about representation. And, by seeing yourself on the screen, you can believe that you can be, a starship captain or, all the kind of different things that we've been seeing. And I think that that's what's so exciting about where we are, and to be able to broaden our reach. And as Brixton was saying, and being able to expand our audience and welcome in so many more people who want to be part of telling stories and changing the world through the power of, film and television and all of this. Because I think the thing is that what we see now, especially today, is the real need for leaders, the real need for people who can dream beyond where we're at and be able to create a better and brighter future. And we want to be part of that.
Thank you so much. I think what you mentioned is really relevant, because even the number of films in the festival, nearly half of the films, of the 82 films, are made by people of color. So all the work that you're talking about and who we're serving is reflective in what we see today.
And we never would have thought when we first started. I mean, when I first started coming to Sundance, it was very, there was a lot of snow, and there was, very little representation. And the thing is, I just remember just looking back behind us one year and looking at the change, that you could actually see the change that we had started to create. On Main Street was filled with a crowd of, people of color, and it was just, it was nice to be able to see the doors open, because I went to USC Film School, and I think the thing is that you even got tired of that that it was the same people getting the doors open, or the success or the deals, and it's good to see that has changed.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Carol. Pauline, what are your thoughts around who we're serving today and present day Blackhouse?
Yeah, it's hard to add to what Brixton and Carol have already said, because I completely agree with what they've said. I think, what's always struck me about the organization is we've always, endeavored to serve, Black filmmakers, BIPOC filmmakers, and those who support those efforts, right? So it's always been very inclusive. And so when I think about our constituents, I think about not only the community that we're all a part of in terms of the BIPOC community, but also people who are supporters. So we have wonderful sponsors who've been with us for a very, very long time. We have people who visit us in the Blackhouse who are not, people of color, but who are very, very supportive of the cause and of the effort. And for me, that's a really gratifying and a really beautiful thing, that we can be so inclusive, given our real, focus. Our focus really hasn't changed over the years, but the people who are, engaged in that mission certainly has grown and deepened. And so that's been really gratifying for me, at least personally.
Excellent. And Dolly, did you have anything to add for the community we're serving now?
Yeah, I think that, I think Blackhouse has been an important component of the Renaissance in Black film. It started probably around 2007, maybe a little bit before then, actually, probably a little bit before then. But in order to continue that renaissance, in order to continue to elevate storytellers, in order to provide a pipeline of great, wonderful stories to not only the film industry, but to brands, to nonprofits, to advertising agencies. The community that we have created at Blackhouse is a source of that content. I think building on what Pauline said is that this is a place where companies can meet talent, where brands can connect to talent, where other organizations can find their new director, their new writer, their new producer. I think also we're serving a global audience now because Blackhouse is not just at Sundance. We've traveled to France, to Cannes, to Toronto Film Festival. Pauline traveled us to Africa this year. So we're serving a global audience, and the Blackhouse has the same impact no matter where we go. And one of our favorite, welcomes is "Welcome to the Blackhouse," and we get the same amount of enthusiasm, open arms, and just sheer excitement no matter where we go in the world. I think that what we're also doing is we're actually servicing creatives at every stage of their career, whether they're the college student that's one of our interns, whether they're the emergent filmmaker that has their first film at Sundance, or whether they're the mid-career filmmaker that's looking to take their next step. We're a part of that journey, and we're very excited to do it.
That's amazing. And I think about, I'm looking at the screen, and, the Blackhouse is the screen right now. There aren't very many bodies that get that work done. So that's a lofty goal, but it has happened. And I think I want to turn now to ask you guys, what were your goals when the foundation was started? And I'm going to turn to Carol as one of the founders, because where you are today, I don't know if you imagined that you would be this far ahead with, so few resources. But as you mentioned, partnerships, I think you mentioned this, Pauline in particular, sponsors and partners have really helped to propel what you've been able to offer. So I think that that's amazing too. But Carol, take us back. We're looking back now. What were some of the goals when you launched?
Well, I think what's interesting too, and what I want to give a big shout out to the people on the screen, is that we've been able to build a board of people who've stayed together. I mean, the thing is that despite there were some challenges, there's always when you have people come together with differing views and all of that, but we were united around one cause, and the cause was to change what we were seeing, the people that we were seeing making content, who has been given the money and the opportunity. And so I had been, had worked with a friend of mine from USC Film School, Helen Wang, who had started Queer Lounge. And what was interesting, and I worked for about 5 years with Queer Lounge, was the changes that they were able to do just by being, sometimes just opening a door and allowing people to come in, who haven't had a place to go or a safe place to go, or, through community, you build strength. Because there's people who have, similar experiences and all of those kind of things. And I remember it was during that time that I went to an event that was being held by a major agency, and I got kind of jammed into the door between the people who were trying to keep people out and the people who were trying to come in. And the thing is, what I thought is that, that one of the things is that we're creating barriers when we should be opening doors, when there should be more opportunity, when people should be able to walk into the room and know that they're valued. And, started talking with Brixton about that. And literally I was up in, Canada shooting Noah's Ark, just very interesting experience there. And just, what can we do to make it, an impact at Sundance? And we just thought we kind of came up with a name, with a concept that we would be there to offer community and education and support. And we were very lucky to have some amazing, as you said, sponsors are so important to this kind of work, because without the money, we wouldn't be able to do it. And Brixton, one of the things that Brixton really can do is engage, companies and convincing them why supporting what we were doing was important and impactful. And the nice thing was to be able to open a door where, welcome to the Blackhouse was not just a phrase, but it was actually really something, that we did remember your name. We were happy to see you there. It was, it was exciting, as much as exciting for us to have you there as it was for you to come to where we were. And just that, the thing for me has always been the sheer joy that comes out of Blackhouse, because, you feel good in there. You feel that you're doing something that's, that will, change the world in many different kinds of ways. And I think the authenticity of representation is really important. I just think that just even in my life, being involved in Blackhouse has, given me tools to deal with things in my life and my experiences as my family changed and expanded, became more diverse. So it was good to be able to have that. And so, it would have never happened. Like, it's always, who you can partner with. And, Brixton and I had the lovely fortune of working on Noah's Ark together. And, just came up to him and said, so what do you think? And literally, I think less than 3 months later, we were up on the hill at Sundance and we opened the doors. And, our thing was that, well, we're going to open them and we're going to try to share information with people. And it was just such a resounding response that we got from, people of color in the community working in the film industry who were eager to come to a place which they wish had been there when they started and were ready, and they were ready to give in. We've had a lot of people pour in. And, again, without Brixton, the two of us kind of agreeing and then having Ryan join that the trifecta, that there wouldn't have been, the strength or the dedication or the purpose to continue it happening, because it was a little, we're just going to do it. And I think the thing is that sometimes ignorance is a blessing. Because you're not really thinking of all the problems, the snow, the buses out in front of the building, where are we all going to sleep, what happens when the bathroom overflows. But, none of those things matter when you really stand back and look at it, that, seeing the joy on people's faces and the memories that we have of things that have been created there, which will, just be hard to replicate, but we continue to do so. And every year there's always something magical. Even this year, even though we're virtual and we're not there in person to person and touching each other, stuff like that, I don't know, just the conversations that I watched over the last couple of days, we've been able to surpass the pandemic. We've been able to live beyond that and reach out to people and still hold hands, even if in a virtual way.
No, definitely. It sounds like there were some lessons learned, some triumph, nonetheless, fond memories. Brixton, do you have any fond memories to add to that as one of the founders? Before I ask, and Pauline, been there, equally as long. But
I might pick on Pauline, because Pauline was one of our first board members. And just sort of the, probably not her best and highest use to be working velvet ropes. And we didn't have them because we wanted to keep people out, but there are the fire marshals in Park City, for good reason. It's a mining town built on, into a ski resort. There are some pretty intimate relationships with the fire marshal. They're very engaged. And so you have to, there's a lot of, how many people are in here? How do we not get shut down? So, imagine your parents' basement when they're out of town and you're throwing a party for 10 or 5 days or 4 days. So a lot of those sort of memories of just the scrappiness of it all. I think if you have the advantage in 2020 of walking the streets of Park City during the festival, you could have very easily thought it had always been that way. Janine, you, Carol, and I went to Park City in August when you started, and we literally ran into a Black couple in a cafe or at like a counter, and it took me back to the moments that Carol talked a bit about when you started in 2007 when we opened our doors. Before that, if you were at Sundance and you saw a Black person, you wouldn't let them go. You're like, well, so what are we doing now? Because I can't lose eyes on you because I'll never find you again. And so I think just that August trip really reminded me of the way it was. And not that I want to go back to that, but a clear appreciation for that dynamic and that sort of the journey to where we are, and the proliferation of organizations and people and films and careers and just an immense amount of pride, but also pretty wild memories of snow embankments and things that didn't work, like electricity in the building, and you need a new electrical board for the whole thing for this thing to happen. So it was just a you gotta adapt, and the cause is worthy, and our story was worth being told. But pretty harrowing days that I remember up there on that mountain in the cold for 14-hour days for 15 years.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And I want to give a shout out to Shari Freelo. I think the thing is that, thank you, Dolly, for reminding me about that. But, sometimes we move so far away from the past that we forget who were those people who stepped up and helped us, succeed and gave us, not the keys to the kingdom, but gave us how could we operate in this environment. And Shari was phenomenal. I mean, she had been a groundbreaker programmer at Sundance. And, the thing is that she brought that experience to us. And the thing is that she was invested in making it happen. And that, Sundance became a partner with us, and we've been an affiliate since we began. And, just knowing that change is best from within rather than forced from the outside. And so we've been able to grow together with Sundance and embracing just, how diversity is enriching.
Love it. I mean, Shari is the best example with the New Frontier, because she is really manning that ship for, this Sundance Film Festival. So I think it's perfect that we mentioned, gave her a shout out. Hello, Shari. So, but I didn't want to leave without, and move on to the next question without Dolly and Pauline chiming in. So Pauline, I think you've been called on anyway. Do you have something?
Yeah, Brixton did call me out in my shoveling days. But just an example of the love we all have at Blackhouse is that you roll up your sleeves and you do whatever the work requires. And in the early days, there was a lot of manual labor required. And I think part of, it's interesting, two things about Brixton's story, that he and I share a story that we would see each other on the bus, the shuttle bus at Park City. And Brixton and I have been friends for years, and I didn't know he was there. But I would see him on this bus, and we would go, "You're here? Oh my gosh, we got to get together." But we didn't know where and when, because most of the events at the time at Sundance were behind other velvet ropes. And unless you were invited or knew that they were at some house or some villa somewhere off of Main Street, you weren't going to be there. And even coming from a studio, I often didn't know where they were or have invitations to those things, being a young studio executive at the time. So the idea of the Blackhouse was really one that resonated for me personally, both personally and professionally, because I knew the lack of access that there was at this festival, but how important it was to be a participant and to participate fully, not only in seeing the films, but also in what was happening, the conversations that were happening around those films. So I knew that. And I knew that was really important. But the other thing was, Brixton invited me to join the board of this thing. And he said, and we're going to, I think it was December. And he said, we're going to do it next month. And I was like, huh?
It was September.
Okay, September. But I was like, wow, that's quite an undertaking. And what I've learned is that the Blackhouse will always push me to the edge of my comfort zone, because we're always talking about things that we're going to do, fast. But we've always been able to pull it together. And I think, to Carol's point, it's just sort of the commitment and the tenacity of this board, and also the willingness and the participation of the folks that have been with us, like yourself, Janine, from the beginning. We've gotten just this overwhelming support from the community. And I think that, at least for me, is what keeps me going, that keeps, propelling me through, some of the snow shoveling. I know Brixton's days there were much longer than my own, but I know that I suspect that you have that similar gratitude.
Perfect. And, Dolly, is there anything also, as you look back, that had specific impact for you today? Like, was there a fellow that has come through? So just think about that also while you answer.
Yeah, I think that, for me, first of all, it was very exciting, because if you haven't been to Sundance before, it seems very mysterious. How do I get there? What do we do when we get there? Where am I going to stay? All of that. But that same type of, a little bit of angst and excitement is the same angst and excitement that filmmakers have when they're coming for the first time. So, I think some of the fondest memories I have is, I used to work for the American Black Film Festival, and I met so many great young filmmakers who won the HBO Short Film Award. And, that's still an industry standard for talent. But to be at the Blackhouse and watch people like Nikiatu Jusu, who has her feature film here today, somebody who I've known for at least 15 years, for them to come, and I wish I was sitting in the audience, but I was sitting in her virtual audience, or, Rashad Ernesto Green or his brother Ray Green, to actually be there and welcome them and hug them and, have them be a part of these panels was just, amazing. I think one other great experience for me is a young woman who was a part of a talent development program I did at ABFF that I became a mentor to and then I produced her film that premiered at Sundance. Well, it just doesn't get much better than that. And that was Garrett Bradley. And then she goes on to be nominated for an Oscar. So, what we do is important and it makes a difference in people's lives. So, I think that's the part that gets me excited, is to see people's careers thrive and to see them grow and to be a part of their journey as they go along.
So perfect. And, Nanny was her film. So let's mention the film Nanny.
That's right.
And then King Richard from Ronaldo. So these are, friends to the Blackhouse. And again, seeing the progression of how they come through, fellows. And then I love that you could tell that full circle story, Dolly. That makes all the sense in the world. Like, you want more of those. So, but you can't get that just anywhere. That makes the Blackhouse special. So how does this inform the future of the Blackhouse? Where are we going next? Are we still shoveling snow? Are we creating an app that does? So I think looking toward the future, and again, the future is today. The future is we're still at Sundance, even though we are coming from our, locations that I mentioned before. What does it look like? And I think I want to start with you, Pauline, on this one. Also looking at the global nature of, Sundance is one little place in Utah, or the, Park City, that one little Main Street location, but we're connected in so many other ways. So what do you think about that as it relates to the future?
Yeah, it's a great question, Janine. Thanks. If you think about the business of entertainment, so much of it now is international. You think about the growth of the opportunities, both from content perspective and from, distribution perspective. A lot of the growth is coming from international territories. And so the Blackhouse has always been, working towards that. We've had events at the Toronto International Film Festival. As Dolly mentioned, we were at the Cannes Film Festival, and we've been doing that for some years now with the idea of doing more. And so the next iteration of that is this International Writers Lab that we launched this past summer with our first cohort of Kenyan screenwriters. And the International Writers Lab was started as a collaboration with my company, PMF Media Group, the Blackhouse Foundation, and Nairobi-based Venture Lift Africa. But it really is in the spirit of the programs that the Blackhouse Foundation has been doing for many years, which is, helping to elevate and the new voices onto a bigger platform. And as you said at the top, these ladies aren't quite new. Many of them, or all of them, are quite experienced. They have many, many years of experience. And really what we wanted to do was to give them an opportunity to just have more opportunity to network with people here in Los Angeles and in Hollywood. So we took, very experienced screenwriters. We had them submit a finished screenplay, and then we selected 5 writers. Turns out they're all women, all incredibly, incredibly talented. There were 2 films, 3 television series. And we put them through, a 6-week writing lab that was led by writer, director, producer, Maddie Rich. And he really helped, for the ladies to take scripts that were really good and make them pretty great. So we are in the midst of, we did a pitch fest, and we are in the midst of, making introductions for these ladies. And then thinking about what's next. So our goal with the International Writers Lab is to replicate that with, additional cohorts, not only in Kenya, but around the region, the entire diaspora as well, but particularly in East Africa and beyond. We think there's a real opportunity. There's a lot of talent in the area. And I think that they just need this connection that the Blackhouse is so good at providing. And so we're really excited about not only these 5 super talented women, but also excited about what's to come.
So important. Thank you for sharing that. That accelerator that you have, I think, is also the future of the Blackhouse. A program where you focus in. Dolly and Carol, I'm calling on you next because you've already done that. And I think it was a nice launch pad for the International Writers Lab, meaning there's like the sweet spot of mid-career producers. They just happen to all be women, and your program has always been women. But the whole point is to make sure we're focusing on those who need to be uplifted and have opportunities. And again, we have the Muslim Writers Lab. There's some other programs that I'm going to throw to Bricks in the end to talk about. But I love that we're able to touch very specific groups, and the accelerator format is kind of what I see the future being. Carol or
Yes.
Dolly, So I want to talk about this fellowship and just the future. So I didn't know who wanted to go first with that. Dolly?
So, I think part of the inspiration for us behind the Producers Fellowship was one, when you read the trade magazines and you see the announcements for all of the fellowship programs, year after year after year, when you look at the photos, and photos don't lie, they weren't very diverse. Maybe 10% if you're lucky, maybe 15%. Well, that is not enough to help support our community. So the idea behind this program was to create our own. If we are not going to be invited in, then we can develop our own program so that we can start to scale the people that we can support. So our goal was, the big overarching goal is we need to have more Shonda Rhimes, and we need more Will Packers. We need more, Charles Kings in our in our industry, because that's going to help to expand and scale the number of color, creators of color that really have an opportunity, that when they're doing their pitches, they're sitting across the desk from someone who looks like them, who understands their story and their life. So we're really interested in expanding the number of multicultural production companies and executives to increase the pipeline. And we need to create career sustainability, because after you've done this for about 10 or 15 years, you could start to wonder, what is my future going to be like? And most of the talent development programs in our industry are more focused on younger, emerging talent. But what about the people who have invested 10 or 15 years of their life? They're highly skilled, they're mature, they've managed large budgets, they've been able to navigate crisis as they go along, and they've had a lot of successes in terms of award. Who supports them? Because at any stage of our career, we all need a mentor and we need a sponsor, but particularly for women and for people of color, right around the time when you become mid-career, those people kind of vanish, and it's not necessarily always able to connect. So what we're interested in doing is focusing on the personal and the professional, because we have to show up as our whole self. So this is an industry that can be very taxing on you emotionally, on your personal lives, on your family lives. So how can we help them rebalance, to rethink about their career, where they want to go in the future, and also provide them with a new toolkit, with new connections, with new access that can propel them to the next level. And I'll allow Carol, do you want to finish that off?
That was a lot. No, I mean, I think the important thing is that, when we start with these women, I think the thing is that, like you said, they've all very accomplished. They all have awards behind them and everything like that. But I think what we want them to do is to step back for a moment and recognize what queens they all are, what power they have, what skill set they have, how any company would be lucky to have them. And I think if nothing else, the last couple of years with the pandemic has shown that having, someone of, with some, wisdom behind them, and with some ability to, like, as you said, navigate difficult situations and be a problem solver is that's not viewed as a liability anymore. It's a real asset. And so what's nice to see is that we're now, what do we got, 24 now, Dolly? This will be
24. Yeah.
Yeah. With this class, we'll now have 24, and we feel like, that's enough of a group to start really making a change. They help each other. They talk to each other. And it's just like building that sort of, within our organization, a support group that because it's it is hard to go alone along in this business and feeling that you're alone. And even if you have the the foundation coming from a film school or something like that, when you go out into the industry, you see fewer and fewer of your friends. That's a full circle for Janine and I, coming from USC Film School to be able to come back in and just that you can pull upon those people. There are people that you can trust. There are people who are like-minded and who are aligned as you are. And I can't wait for this next group. We've got some again, great stories. Ladies from the past two groups have gone on to amazing achievements, and so it's just it's like shining a real light on jewels that you might bypass.
I love that. And you both mentioned, this mid-career, like 10, 15 years into your career, maybe they're that seasoned and maybe they're 5 years in, but it's just like the Blackhouse. We're 15 years in, and we also need partnerships to move forward. So you need extra support, however you describe it. And I know I tell people, I've represented talent before, but now I'm at the Blackhouse. We are not talent representatives. We don't rep people, but we are building pipelines of amazing multi-platform content creators that we need your help in moving to the next level, because we still need help from sponsors so that we can create programming. Everything you're hearing about today, this amazing board, this volunteer board has put their time and energy into developing programs to help build. And I can't even give you the number of the hundreds of fellows that we've touched over the years. I know that Sundance typically had about 10 that would come on the ground, which to me, again, the ultimate privilege. You get to come to Sundance without a film, but you get to learn from the Blackhouse, which is an amazing opportunity. So Brixton, tell me how we were able to move that one forward and what technology means as that relates, because there is a new partnership that helped to propel that program that didn't even exist back in the day. It's not a traditional studio. So I'm just serving that one up to you.
Yeah, so I may dance back to the past for a second to just give you a sense of how things worked. So a woman who encountered us just came to Sundance because in her film school career, she was spending a lot of time at festivals, was Amanda Rhodes. And she pitched to say we should do a fellows program. And we had done a fellows program my first 2 years at Blackhouse, 2007, 2008. Fellows, volunteers, workers, who were essential. And have stayed in touch with a lot of them as well, and seen their careers soar in various ways. But Amanda really was like, we should do this again. And I said, all right, well, type it up, give it to us. And she did. And I happened to be at an event and taking a cab with Necka Norville from BET at the time. And she's like, what do y'all want to do? I was like, we want to do a fellows program. And so we did the pitch and we did it with BET for a couple of years, which is fantastic. And the 10 folks, as you referred to, Janine, that we brought on the ground and worked with together. And the third year we did it again, and we just kept going at it. And then Facebook came on 5 years ago as a partner, and then as presenting and Meta this year, sponsor for a number of years. And Jim Barrett, who again is an incredible partner, those folks, those friends that you need, said, let's expand this program beyond the 10, particularly in the virtual world, in 2021 being the first all virtual Sundance. And so we were able last year to launch that program into the stratosphere, moving from 10 fellows to 100, all in either MFA programs or undergraduate film programs. Amanda was at Howard, and that program was Howard the first year, and then expanded to additional schools in following years, and has been even more broad, so beyond Howard and sort of the USCs and NYUs of the world, we also included, Bowie State and Morehouse and Spelman. And so it's been really a remarkable opportunity to widen the aperture there for 100 filmmakers and 100 student filmmakers and young folks. But as we talked about in our work, we also think about sort of the career piece and beyond the student side. And so that it had a future filmmaker program, an emerging filmmaker program, and an established program. So we touched and we engaged 100 filmmakers, student filmmakers in the future, 15 in the emerging world. A lot of folks that we had been in touch with and engaged with for years, including people who have been in the producers lab, folks who've been just eating our sausage, biscuits, and waffles and gravy for years in Park City, but with great careers that we were able to propel through programming, so year-long programming for both groups, but also to get those 15 on Sundance's vendor platform. So actual work and material opportunities to be engaged with Meta in that way. And then we had an established program as well, which worked with folks like Anita Costa on Candyman. And so that was just this blossoming of this investment that we've made for years in folks who we brought to the festival, who now we were able to engage with. I think I might have skipped this. 5 of the 100 student filmmakers got $20,000 grants each to make films. Amazing. And Meta is amplifying the sort of the footprint of those films. So it was this evolution of friends and supporters, constituents sponsors, in this case, Meta, Facebook, and countless resources who stepped in to be supportive. So the sessions that we have with them are mostly consistent of filmmakers that we've known for years and that we've seen and follow their careers. Just one more second, I think about one session we did in particular this summer with the group. And so we had an executive who we've known for years in various incarnations, and just watching this person's career evolve and hearing about their career evolution with the students and being able in your mind's eye to sort of picture it because you've been along for the ride, right? And so I think that's what's spectacularly special about Blackhouse and about programs like this is, as Dolly referred, you meet someone 15 years is today, and you don't know where 15 years on they're going to be. And it's amazing to have been a partner in that journey for so many folks and to keep it going.
Wow. Well, celebrating 15 years, there's so much here. I mean, there's literally photos and videos of panels, but there's also history that you don't get if you haven't stopped by the house, whether it be virtually or, in person over the years. So I think this is an amazing roundtable to hear some of the stories from your background and from what happened in the past. You mentioned students. Someone mentioned college students. We talked about graduate students, different diverse groups. But also, I think the future has a lot to do with, and you mentioned this also, the executive that came to speak to the scene group executives. I can still count the number of diverse executives in Hollywood. Some of them look the same as the ones I knew way back in the day. So I think there's an opportunity for the Blackhouse to also help move and amplify that pipeline so that we see more. And it goes back to Dolly's point where you mentioned more Charles Kings, more, you name the people. We need more of us in those positions. And the Blackhouse has done such an amazing job in the first 15 years. We will see what happens in the next 15 years and how we help to have impact in those areas. So thank you guys so much. We're not done because we have questions. So I think there's some questions from the chat that we want to address. So if we can get those up, we will see. Okay. And, interesting enough, Brixton pretty much answered this because there are levels to this and there are levels to the scene program. And he mentioned the scene filmmakers, the emerging group, and then the grantees. So I don't know, Brixton, did you want to take this one or are we?
Yeah, I think it's an important piece. You hinted at it a little bit, Janine. We have 15 years of sessions, and maybe not all 15, but we've had the good fortune to record at least the last decade of content. And so as you think about the future, there'll be opportunities for us to perhaps we can't impact everyone in person or anyone in person right now, but everyone in person in the medium term. But we hope to be able to develop content that can really provide access and insights for folks right from the comfort of their own homes. So there's more coming on that. Our programs, again, are evolving and continuous, and we're excited for what the future brings when we're able to connect in person on a more consistent. But our work, a variety of folks. It's like a DJ. It's a variety of folks at various stages of career. So again, scene was for those three categories: future, emerging, and established. But there are, as we talked about, the International Writers Lab is much more mid-career. Producers Lab is much more mid-career. Our Black Muslim Screenwriters program was much more mid-career. And so I think we have a pretty solid base of engagement with mid-career folks that we're excited to keep building on.
Awesome. Thank you. Is there another question? So please provide some insights on the future of film exhibition. Do you see hybrid programming becoming the standard? What is your preference, in person or virtual, and why? I do have to say I enjoyed watching Encanto from home, but I'm just, just saying. But if there's any, because I was singing along.
Doing theater.
Exactly. So does anybody else have anything there
Although I would say we had Regina Hall yesterday, and she is famous for her her scene of talking back to the screens in theaters. So that wouldn't stop her.
Yes, we're all going to miss that. I'll take it. It certainly, my background probably informs the answer here. But in being the person who launched the Netflix original film initiative, I really am a little biased. I do think that this idea of watching films at your choice, right? Do you want to watch it at home or do you want to watch it in a big screen is really very powerful. And I think just given the dynamics of the industry right now, I do think you'll continue to see a lot of this hybrid sort of release strategy where you'll see it in the home and in the theater. What you're seeing is some studios are doing some windowing, right? So it'll be first available for an additional charge and then free of charge on their streaming service, never to hit theaters. And then you'll see other studios where it's in the theater first for some very short window, very short period of time, and then on the streaming services. And I think everyone's trying to figure out what the economics might be and how the economics might work. But I do think that you'll see at the end of this, and it could be a year from now or 3 years from now, but I do think you'll see at the end of this some consistency around the idea that viewers can watch the movie in the first window from the comfort of their home. I just think that that's where the business is. And I think coming out of this pandemic, we all hope that theaters will rebound and that we'll all be able to go back and watch these things together and, be scared together and be happy together, or cry at a good film together. But I do think that there will always be some portion of the audience that would prefer an at-home experience. And so we could have a whole panel discussion, and perhaps we should, on this topic in particular, but that's my personal thought, and I'll stop to let my colleagues jump in as well.
Yeah, I also think it's content driven. There are certain stories I think that are just, being able to gather with people. I saw a film yesterday that the being able to watch with a group of people is brainwashed as a documentary. That would have been that kind of looks at the Me Too and the gays and female gays. That was just would be great to be able to see within a crowd, because then a call to action or things like that, but also just stories that bring us together and remind us how what commonality we share of the human experience. And so I know that I'm missing that. One of the first films that I got to see coming out of the pandemic was Questlove's The Summer of Soul, which was just, the experience of the music, just all of it, seeing a experience on the stage that was communal, having a communal, viewing experience. And I'm hoping that remains part of it, because, there's power in gathering, and we've done so for such a long time. And, but it also does allow for people to be able to work their way up the, so to say, the distribution ladder. That, a film that, say you just, it's no longer, a detriment to just say my film went, straight to, there's no longer straight to video, but, went to streaming. All of them, that it just, what it does too is it expands the people who will get to know about your talent and all of that. So in some ways, the lack of community is sad, but hopefully we'll get back to that. But the exposure for artists and artists of every color, and the thing that we get to, that people around the world now want to look, they want to look at human stories, regardless of what the package is, but something that touches them, and finding, and that growing sense of connectivity as I think something that will come out of this experience, that we will be blessed by.
These are gems. Hopefully you guys are taking notes. Shine is dropping gems. Thank you so much, Carol. Appreciate that. So back to you.
I want to jump in for this one. I do worry, though, about the economics. So Scarlett Johansson is making noise about the economics of streaming first only or whatever order. I do worry about the economics of the business for folks. And so I think that that's the kind of conversation you would push at the Blackhouse. If you think about what does that mean? What does that mean for the future and the opportunities? So super passionate about interrogating that and making sure that the folks that we know we're able to advocate for our folks in that, to make sure that people are still getting the opportunities that are promised, which is what we all dream about when we dream about not just storytelling, but also a commercially viable career in storytelling.
Right. Yeah, and I'd like to piggyback on that too. I had a good experience yesterday, and it was really wonderful because I watched Descendant, and I was able to figure out how to throw it to my television. Don't tell anyone. With my mom. But what was great about that is she felt like she had the Sundance experience yesterday too. So that was actually really wonderful. But as a person who worked in the music business, I am also concerned about the economics, because once you flatten the distribution opportunities and you only have a very few, it's going to be very difficult for a lot of films to find a home through a distributor. So that kind of turns into self-distribution, right?
Mhm.
And, how is that going to work for people if you don't have the money to put your film in a theater, or the marketing and advertising to self-promote your film? So I enjoy, streaming, but I do think that the industry has to be very careful, because it could be devastating as well.
So that's interesting too. What I find interesting about it is it does change the idea of who we serve. So, we talked about that in the beginning. That person looks different. They're not the traditional film student anymore. They may come from some other walk of life, business of entertainment. I don't know what the background, technology. So I think it may change one area, but it also may give birth to another creative that we've yet to see. And I think the Blackhouse has been able to embrace those that are different and unique and help propel them. But the economics, you said it right, Pauline, we need a whole dedicated focus on this hybrid. That was a loaded.
No, I think we do. I want to respond, but I know we need to move on to other questions.
Right, that's a good one though. Thank you whoever asked that. So we're making a note. And then going back to the producers fellowship in 2023, I think someone asked, will it happen again? And I think this is what we're talking about, because the cohort that has now become 24 in total might look different by 2023. But Carol and Dolly, what's the answer? Because we're just in 2022 now.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, we want to thank Warner Media and SAG-Indy, who have been wonderful partners from day one. And yes, we're going to be announcing our new cohort that we've selected very soon. And yes, there will be another program in 2023. And if you happen to work for a company and you'd like to support this endeavor to help us build the pipeline, we hear at companies that producers are in high demand, experienced producers are in high demand, and we'd like to help you meet that demand. But we also need your support because these programs happen to be very labor intensive, and they're costly to run. And that is why you probably don't see as many organizations of color with these programs. We must have your support to build these out.
Can I add something there, Dolly? Because even just yesterday in our meta scene, when we kicked off our programming, I guess that was Friday, Jason, who was, in the very first cohort, mentioned it's not just learning to be a producer and the technical stuff behind that, but the mental, the physical, the yoga, the mental health. And so bringing your whole self, you mentioned that earlier. So I think keep it lean so you can focus and give people what they need. And I think that was something she mentioned because she shouted you out then, and you're kind of mentioning it now. It doesn't have to be a ton of people. It's not going to be effective. So thank you for sharing it.
And I think the one thing that you see when you look around the industry is that who survives, what are the successful techniques that they've developed to ensure that they live a good life, that they live a balanced life, that they live a healthy life. And I think if nothing else, I think the pandemic has shown us, make good choices. And the thing is that, your health stems from not just from your physical health, but your mental health. And I think, even though some people may feel it's a little crunchy, it's still, it's good to, we have inspirational talks. We have people who come in, we'll do the yoga, we'll do, take a picture, learn the things about how do you walk into a room? And the thing is the most important thing, one, is that you deserve to be there. And I think the thing is that, you have as much to give as they have to get. And I think that that's what, we want to continue to do, because if you look back on what the numbers were, that there were, filmmakers, of color when they would do their first film, especially if they were women, and, 10 years later, did they have a second film? And, the guys would get those multi-deals, one right after another. And you're just looking, I think it was Tanya Hamilton, who we had come in and speak with us, who, the title is Night Remembers Us.
Night Catches Us. Yeah.
Night Catches Us. It was 10 years till she got her next piece. And especially doing a film that strong and that impactful, that just doesn't feel right. So I think the thing is that what we want to do is to continue to support the people who become part of the family, who come in, that we can help, that, that we are there for you. And all, I think our biggest thing is that our intention is to serve, the people that are out there doing the hard work, making the films, making the documentaries, making the, the podcasts, whatever it is, so that you can do so knowing that there's someone who, will believe in you and who will support you. And that, if nothing else, that's a great gift to give people, that they know that they're valued.
And that's celebrating 15 years. Not everyone can do that. And the Blackhouse has done that. In particular, the reason Sundance looks as diverse as it looks, even if you go into the festival village and the community hub, I was like, oh, wow, look at all of these different groups that were not there before. That is the Blackhouse effect. And having that time to spend to celebrate and nurture, I think is really important. So something definitely to be celebrated.
And thank you for mentioning that, Janine, because actually Blackhouse was co-hosted and welcomed in new partners, Latino Real, the Gold House, and many more to establish a presence. And it really gives us a tremendous amount of joy to see that there is a Latinx house now, that the Gold House, operates independently. It's a great honor to see how our work has multiplied over the past 15 years.
Absolutely.
And that creates legacy.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you, Dolly. I don't know if we had any more questions come through, because before we go, I know Dolly mentioned, hi, Lonray. How can you best support the Blackhouse? So I'm saying hello to Chicago. Let's see. Maybe we can. Lonray's definitely been supporting the Blackhouse for years, but I just want to throw that to you guys. It's so funny that what a perfect question. Moving forward, maybe just go down the line and start with you, Pauline. I have you up top. Maybe throw out a couple things that you mentioned.
Yeah. Hi, Lonray. Great question. Thank you. I think, just continue to show up. I think, first and foremost, when we have events, we appreciate your participation, great questions, the encouragement and support. I know it certainly is helpful. I think Dolly mentioned if you're working with anyone who may need a producer or somebody from one of our labs, a referral for one of our labs. I think those are probably the things that come to my mind first. If I hadn't gone first, I might have thought about it a little bit more, but that's what's coming to my mind first. But I think for me, it is like I said in the beginning, I think when you all continue to show up and support the things that we do, that certainly is tremendously helpful.
Anyone else on that one?
Dolly.
No?
Dolly on screen.
I think that, today what we'd like for you to do is to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and on Meta. We'd also like for you to sign up for a newsletter so that we can stay in touch with you and communicate with you. We'd like for you to tell your friends about Blackhouse. We're here at Sundance, and we'll announce soon the other festivals that we plan to visit this year. And if you happen to have friends who are philanthropists or work as executives as companies, and they are looking for meaningful, tangible investments to make that will have an outcome that is measurable, please recommend Blackhouse.
Perfect. That's perfect. We have like a minute left, so I think we wrap up. Very
like, share.
Yes, I'm throwing it to you.
Yes. Like and share our content from this festival. So all the sessions will be posted on Facebook and other platforms for you to share and spread the word far and wide. Carol's being blown up by excitement from our audience.
Sorry about it.
Whole time, this is what you get. And then also there's a poll currently in Crowdcast, so you can take the poll, and YouTube. It will also live on YouTube, so you'll be able to see that as well. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
I think the biggest thing I just look at it is that, what we, the education and, we tried to, inspire, educate, and, bring a sense of community. And I think the thing is that I hope that we don't let, the Zoom or any of that, minimize the connection you can feel or the support that you can feel, or just, being being with us. And even though we can't be in person, what we want to do and the changes we want to continue to do and the work that we see ahead with, with Janine's guidance, taking us into the next 15 or, more than that, hopefully, is that we can continue to do good change. And I think the thing is that, as we see in this world, with the truth tellers and the people who can inspire us are more and more, filmmakers and storytellers. And I think the thing is that we need to tell those stories. We need to see those stories that we can change the world. And I think the thing is that we never knew when we started this that we would actually get to 15 years or that it would have the effect that it would have, but we just jumped in. And I think the thing is that we all go forth bravely and fiercely to make this world a better place.
Well said. Well, with that, I want to thank the panel for coming and sharing with our audience today. Thank you, audience, for participating, and stay tuned because with this 15-year anniversary, we will celebrate. We're celebrating now, but we will focus on a real celebration when we get to the spring and hopefully when we can see each other in person. So that's the goal. But thank you for joining us today on behalf of the Blackhouse, and thank you, Sundance, for this platform. We're saying bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.